I'm rather happy with the latest batch of Wings episodes. Not a problem with any of them. This is Wings Season 5, episodes 1, 2, 3, and 4. And as always, I will go through each episode in turn, share some thoughts, the positives, and in theory, any criticisms or room for improvement. But honestly, I'm not seeing any of that here. The first episode, we have Season 5, Episode 1, Stop in the Name of Love, directed by Andy Ackerman. And we have a subplot with Faye taking a psychology course. It's nice padding. We don't get too much into it, but it works well as padding. But the intro is amazing. It's a very powerful start to Season 5. As Faye walks into the airport, she stands in the middle and just screams. And everybody else comes rushing to see her, and she gets a fright because she didn't know that anybody else would be there. And apparently she starts her day like this every day to unleash tension and feel better. And they all go about their business again. And then Roy comes back from vacation and asks the others, "Want to see my tan line?" And all of the other characters scream. I liked it. A fun way to start the episode and also the season itself. The main narrative focuses on Brian's behaviour, or his history of behaviour. He is so happy with Alex. And the others don't think this is going to go anywhere because he has a habit of spending time with somebody, and then as soon as he sleeps with them, he's not interested anymore. And he thinks about this, and to his credit, he doesn't dismiss their concerns. Well, they're not concerned, they're more, I'd say, almost judging. But he doesn't dismiss this. He realises actually there might be something in that. So he tells Alex in this rather great scene, they're about to go to bed, and Brian just starts envisioning each of them in turn, and then Joe's in the bedroom, Helen's in the bedroom, they all pop up one by one, and he tells Alex that actually he wants to wait, and he wants to strengthen their relationship before sleeping with her. And she thought it was really sweet and really romantic, and she's really happy with the idea, and that's basically what happens. And I thought it was a really interesting look at Brian. I think it also, for me as a viewer, cements the feeling that he does actually care about her, and he's not just chasing after her because she's attractive. He definitely cares more deeply about her. So I thought that was a really nice way to start off the season. A nice look at Brian's character. We definitely have some character growth here, which is really lovely to see. And I think I like Alex now. I think I never disliked her, but it took me a long time to really care about her as a character. But I think I'm there now. I think I definitely care about her. And in general, this was not a bad episode and not a bad way to start off Season 5. We then come to Season 5, Episode 2, Terminal Jealousy. This is directed by Leonard R. Garner Jr., and we have a couple of parts to the narrative here, but they all revolve around Roy playing games with people. Brian hurts himself, so Roy kind of meddles, and ultimately Alex offers to fly the plane, to fly Brian's flights, and she goes off with Joe to have a test flight, and Roy kind of plants the seeds in Brian that he shouldn't be letting his, well, I say letting as if he controls her, but he should be comfortable with Alex going off with Joe because Joe might steal her from him. And Faye does point out, and I didn't think of this until Faye mentioned it, but Faye did point out that Brian did once upon a time steal Joe's fiancée, so it's not out of the realm of possibility that Joe would take this opportunity to get back at Brian. But I will say, for me as a viewer, I didn't ever think that that was going to happen. But Brian is concerned, and he ends up confronting them. And, well, Alex tells him to go to hell. Because basically what he was saying is, if Joe comes on to you, you're going to just fall at his knees, which is insulting to Alex. He's basically implying Alex would readily cheat on him. And we'll come back to those in a moment. Roy has also meddled with Helen. Helen is concerned because a health inspector is coming to visit. She's cleaning her kitchen, and then we see the health inspector arriving, and Roy knows it's the health inspector, but Helen doesn't. But Helen does know that it's somebody she went to school with who used to bully her when she was a child. And Roy, meddling again, tells Helen, if that's somebody who bullied you, why don't you go and confront them? And Helen does. And she confronts them, and she says a load of, I guess, nasty things to the health inspector, but if she bullied her as a child, she gets what she deserves. And then Helen happens to point out that I have my own kitchen now and I'm a success. And of course, by saying that, she's telling the health inspector that that's her kitchen. And of course, that's going to come back and bite her when she realises that this is indeed the health inspector. So it was fun to kind of watch that unfold with us knowing more than Helen did in the moment. And Roy was having a lot of fun as well. And my favourite part is at the very end when they all realise that all of these situations had happened because Roy had meddled, and they decide to get their own back. But we don't get to see the aftermath, which I wish we did. I really wish we got to see how Roy reacted, because he comes into the airport and he's got all of these amazing opportunities and some of his dreams are coming true. Obviously, it's all been instigated by the others to get their own back. And I just wish we'd seen what had happened once Roy finds out that they got their own back. We didn't need to. It's not that I felt like the episode was underdeveloped or it didn't conclude properly. That's just more of a wishful thinking. But nevertheless, I found it to be a really delightful episode and a good lesson that you probably shouldn't meddle and wind people up, because it might come back to bite you. We then come to Season 5, Episode 3, Bye Bye Bunny. This is directed again by Leonard R. Garner Jr. This and the next one are both directed by Leonard R. Garner Jr. And we have 2 points to the narrative here. One is a subplot involving Antonio. Somebody left their phone in his cab and he wants to find the owner. And the owner is a person called Phil, we find out. And his wife, Betty, phones up the phone. And of course, Antonio says no, he left the phone in the car. And he happens to describe, when I say this, it sounds like it doesn't make sense, but within the context of the scene, Antonio described what she was like as a passenger, and it turns out that Phil wasn't in the cab with his wife Betty. He was in the cab with another woman. And Antonio was great with this, and Phil came to collect the phone, and Antonio maybe overstepped the mark a bit, but it was a lot of fun to watch him reacting to this, knowing what he ultimately learned about Phil and the other woman. It was good fun, nice padding. The main narrative focuses on Lowell and Bunny, and to be honest, nothing wrong with the episode, nothing wrong with the story, but I'm not the biggest fan of any episode that focuses on Lowell and Bunny. So not the episode's fault, purely down to personal preference, but Lowell doesn't want to hear the word divorce, but the others encourage him that actually maybe it's time to think about it. So he phones up Bunny, expecting Bunny to say, no, I don't want a divorce, and she does, and they go to the divorce lawyer, and Bunny is so happy. It's a beautiful day. She stopped for ice cream. It's a very bizarre experience, and the following morning, Brian and Joe are talking about how they heard Lowell crying through the night, and he comes into the kitchen and he's keeping up this narrative, or at least it seems like this is the narrative, that he was upset through the night. And then in walks Bunny. And he wasn't crying, he was doing other things. And he's quite happy to carry on like this. But finally, eventually, largely because he finds out Bunny has a fiancé, he realizes he can't keep doing this. This is not going to be a healthy relationship. He shouldn't just keep being around Bunny when clearly she's not interested in him in any serious way. And I think it was a moment of realization for Lowell. So I didn't love the episode, but there's absolutely nothing wrong with it. It's quite simply, I don't like Bunny as a character. I find her irritating. I don't think she's meant to be likable. I certainly don't think we're meant to like her. So that's, again, not a criticism of the character. But it's a fine episode. It's not too bad. We then come to Season 5, Episode 4, Business or Pleasure, and this one was pretty decent. We have a great intro with Lowell trying to remember a phone number. He called up information and was given a phone number, and he's frantically trying to find a pen, not sure why he didn't think to get a pen beforehand, and as he's going around the airport trying to find this pen, everybody else starts reading out numbers, and it was actually quite anxiety-inducing because it became noisier and noisier with all of these numbers, and it was brilliant. But he remembered the number, and then he forgot why he was phoning the place in the first place. So it was a fun way to start things off. The main narrative focuses on the fact that Joe's plane keeps having problems. But he doesn't have the money to buy a new plane and replace it. So he flies in the money guy, as he calls him. This is Davis Lynch, played by Mark Herlick. And immediately it's very clear that he's not a very nice person. He's not a people person. And Joe's obviously worrying that he's not going to get this investment. But Davis quite takes a fancy to Helen. So he tells Joe maybe he'll take a tour of the island. After all, he invests in people, not the business, and he wants Helen to take him with him. So Joe kind of persuades Helen to do this. Helen's not enthusiastic about this, but she ends up having a decent time. They go to this crab restaurant that serves only crab, and I have to say I found it to be quite a funny scene. And she's having an okay time, and I still don't think Davis was a likeable character, but he was more likeable in the restaurant scene. And Joe happens to be there, and asks Davis if he's made his decision about whether or not he's going to invest the money. And I think it was quite surprising when Davis said no. And I'd forgotten what happened in this episode. I've seen it before, but a very long time ago. And I didn't see that coming, and I think it was quite unexpected. And, well, Joe's obviously devastated by this. And at the end of the episode, we're in the airport, and we find out that even though Davis said no to Joe, he still wants to see Helen. Helen seems quite happy to keep in touch with him. And then there's a passing remark to Roy that makes it seem like while Davis isn't investing in Sandpiper, he might be in Aeromass. It seems like Roy might be getting his money. And that's how we end the episode, with Joe absolutely dumbfounded. And it was a fun episode. I quite liked it. Davis's character is interesting because I didn't like him, but I quite liked watching him. There was just something about the character that was quite captivating, and obviously a really great performance there. So not a bad fourth episode for season 5. And honestly, I can't fault this batch of episodes. If I were to rank them, I'd have to say, oh, this is difficult. I think I'd have to say, wow, I genuinely can't on this occasion. Usually it's not so difficult. Obviously, Bye Bye Bunny comes last. It's not bad, but I didn't care for it in too much detail. But we have, I'd say, Stop in the Name of Love, and then Business or Pleasure, and then Terminal Jealousy, I think. They're all really good, though, apart from Bye Bye Bunny. Personal preference purely, though. So I'm not too bothered. Very strong start to season 5 of Wings, and looking forward to rewatching the rest of this season.